Terry Kawaja of Luma Partners here. I come to you today in an unusual capacity. Moments ago, a research analyst took the stage at the ANA's media conference in Orlando, and last week gave a similar presentation at AdExchanger's industry preview event. The substance of his speech was amateur, misguided, wrong, and irresponsible. The analyst is Richard Kramer of Arete Research. No, not that Kramer. That's the one. This guy holds himself out as a virtuous, independent voice and the only honest analyst who's not in on some apparent Madison Avenue, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street mass fraudulent pump and dump scheme. I'm here to tell you the gadfly has no clothes. His observations are either useless, exaggerated, or wrong, and investors who follow his advice stand to lose billions. He named his firm based on the Greek word for virtue, more like Greek mythology. I suggest a more fitting name of Lanthamenos or Apoplanetikos, which translate to wrong and misleading. But it's not just his flawed substance and bad calls that should warn you off. He's also a disorganized presenter who leverages the reputations of others for his own gain. This guy, let's call him Anoitos, makes regular references to Luma, and me specifically, in his presentations, even though we've never met. He speaks at advertising and technology conferences where he relishes in playing the spoiler, exposing the advertising community responsible for all sorts of nefarious undertakings. He accuses me of unrelentingly and effectively promoting the digital ad sector by encouraging entrepreneurs and investors to launch startups and then selling said startups at exuberant valuations, thereby netting billions in wealth for our clients. And to that I say, guilty as charged. I mean, seriously, his criticism is that I'm good at my day job? I tell you what, let's hear him in his own words.
I think the Lumascape, everybody's seen this. This is responsible for more value destruction than any single infographic I've seen. It has encouraged a huge number of companies to dive into this ad tech space that really had no place being there. And it's created a huge amount of deliberate, I think quite deliberate, market confusion, mostly to bring Terry Kawaja and the Lumascape team deals.
Well, one thing he said is true. Luma has completed $27 billion in transactions since our inception. By all means, please continue.
And an M&A almost never works for many reasons. It won't stop the bankers from trying. It won't stop Terry Kawaja from trying to orchestrate putting companies together that he encouraged to be built in the first place.
So let me get this straight. He laments the explosion of startups that apparently I'm so good that I fermented, and warns that the sector is overcrowded. Wait, where have I heard that before?
Today's topic is the good, the bad, and the ugly of digital advertising. The mass proliferation of companies in the ecosystem has created a supply-demand imbalance that portends big trouble. It turns out the supply imbalance is worse than it looks. The inevitable conclusion is that there will be blood as we realize on what could be a 90% failure rate.
That sounds more balanced and realistic than encouraging, but thanks for the credit. And look, it's not just me he targets. He has shocked the world with such zingers as VCs promote their own investments, or public companies put out content intended to attract investors. Quick, someone call the cops. Besides statements of the blindingly obvious, his analysis is misguided. For example, Kramer is bearish on ad spend for 2023, forecasting a decline of 8 to 10% versus a consensus view of up 3 to 5% from the ad agencies that are actually managing the spend, as well as other more qualified, more successful independent analysts. He has such mind-blowing insights as CMOs are under pressure and, wait for it, Linear TV is in decline. Wow. Just wow. He points out the obvious about Apple's ATT impact, but bombastically terms it demand destruction. Kramer discusses aspects of non-transparent media, like fraud, viewability, and measurement, all topics we've highlighted and that are on the agenda being addressed at IAB, 4As, ANA, and other industry events. Group them. You've got serious issues, absolutely, especially the privacy one, because consumers are in control. We've got critical issues that we're going to talk about, and what we would call existential issues for the industry. So none of this is news to any objective observer of the sector. And he suggests that media take rates will fall, something that we and the industry have predicted for years, as the sector matures to one with fewer players, doing higher volumes at lower take rates. In other words, he's setting off fire alarms for what is a natural progression of a maturing industry. Kramer even denigrates the explosive growth in CTV and retail media, calling them delusions of grandeur. And worst of all, Richard Kramer seems to relish in the tech sector layoffs in what can only be described as a sad and pathetic display of schadenfreude. In conclusion, this grave-dancing pessimist is by no means a thoughtful critic of the advertising sector. We have those, and we're better for it. Rather, he is an unscrupulous performer, an unprofessional hack, vainly looking to differentiate himself in a crowded market for analysis. I strongly encourage him to self-reflect on how he goes about propagating his business. And I will not stand idly by as someone with so little substance and such crass tactics denigrates the work of thousands of entrepreneurs and leaders who, as imperfect as they are, work every day to bring product innovation, sustained employment, and economic vitality to such a critical sector of our economy. The intersection of media, marketing, advertising, commerce, data, and technology has been, is, and will remain a large, growing, complex, and dynamic sector, and I am proud to play a key role in its advancement. I wouldn't be surprised if such commitment and optimism sounded Greek to him. My advice to you, Richard Kramer, do better. I have never spoken out publicly against someone before, and I hope I never have to do so again. But bad actors have to be exposed. I speak out because I can. I am blessed with no filter and no boss. I speak out not out of malice or retribution, well, not out of malice, but rather as a public service announcement for the benefit of the industry, an industry I love. And don't worry, I'll soon be back to insights, Twitter repartee, and comedy. As for the venues providing Kramer's speaking invitations, I'm sure they're motivated by the desire to have a fresh take on the sector. There is nothing fresh about Richard Kramer's pathetic clown show. And if there's one silver lining, it seems his audiences have caught on.
This is a very sparse crowd for this time of the afternoon. I guess I'm competing against the sunshine.